We don't talk enough about how badly feminism harmed our generation. We don't talk about the results of it. We don't talk about what it brought in, the type of immorality, the type of damaging culture that it brought in. We don't talk about how it broke up families enough. We don't talk about how it harmed children enough. We don't talk about all the divorce it caused. For something that is seemingly supposed to help women, it actually hurts women. And it hurts families, and it's aimed specifically at breaking up the nuclear family. This is why you have the attack on men. Second wave feminism was a blatant attack on men. And it also brought in promiscuity. It successfully removed social stigma around promiscuity and licentiousness, right? It made it okay to sleep around, even twisting the result into something that was seemingly positive and empowering. You have to pay attention to what's behind words. You can hide things in words. Words, for people who really know how to use them, can be very destructive, can be very insidious. When you have a word like empowering, it's seemingly positive, right? But you can hide negative outcomes behind that word. For instance, if you attach it to promiscuity and claim that it's empowering, then you're hiding something insidious there. So what was the result of all that? STDs, unwanted pregnancy, divorce, broken hearts, right? The list goes on. And we see the effects. Now we have a whole generation of young women who doesn't think it's bad to do porn, who doesn't think it's bad to be on OnlyFans, who doesn't see any moral negativity, right, behind promiscuity, behind sleeping around, behind having many sexual partners. In fact, they're so brainwashed that they think it's empowering, right? These are negative effects of feminism. Not to mention abortion, which kills, I think the last time I checked, about 500,000 babies per year in the United States alone. Not just around the world, but the United States alone. 500,000 babies per year. These are extremely damaging results. This is what second wave and third wave feminism brought in. First wave, you could argue that it brought in the subsequent waves. You could argue that it was a foot in the door. I've always been of the mind that, objectively speaking, first wave feminism wasn't too bad as far as I can tell. Maybe I need to do more research on it. But if it was just about voting, if it's just about basic rights, human rights, the right to work, etc., fine. I'm good with that, because I'm all for fairness. I'm all for equal rights. Don't want anybody to be thrown under the bus in that regard. And, you know, we don't want anybody walking around like second-class citizens. We all want civil rights. We all want autonomy, etc. Fine and good. Nothing wrong with that. But if it brought in another wave, then there's a problem with the movement as a whole. It should have ended there. You got your rights, you got your freedom. What's this extra stuff, right? Look at what it brought in. Look at what it was talking about. It was radicalized, in my view, directly after the first wave. The second wave was radicalized, and the third wave got even worse. So now we have something that's really overt, right in your face, and it's twisted, and it's taken to the nth degree, right? Gender, even to the point where gender is questioned, right? All in the name of equality. See, again, you have these words: empowering, equality, right? These seemingly positive words where subtle, insidious, damaging, negative things are hidden in that. There's many atrocities committed in the name of equality, right? Many atrocities committed in the name of equality. And really, how twisted it's become is they've really become what they claim they hate. They claim they hate bigots. They're the biggest bigots. They claim they hate racists. They're the biggest racists. They claim that they want to protect autonomy. They're the biggest controllers, right? They're the biggest they're the biggest hypocrites, right? They do one thing and they say another. They're the gatekeepers, right? They say they're all for freedom. They don't really allow anyone to be free. Anybody who has a different opinion than them, they hate, right? This is how you know it's become a hate group. This is how you know it's become a cult. And it's all part and parcel with the left, unfortunately, what the left has become, right? And I'm not, I hate saying that, but you got to call a spade, but I hate saying that because it plays into left-right paradigm, left-right divisive politics, which it's a slippery slope to even talk about it because you can get sucked into it, right? But it's true in a way. One side looks a lot better than the other side because of how degraded the bad side has become. But I think this is all planned. I think this is all social engineering. I think this is all, we're living out someone's blueprint, whether we realize it or not. And this is the result of the slave mind. This is a result of tribalism. Somebody knew psychology. Somebody who is pulling the strings higher up knew how to psychologically manipulate. They knew what buttons to push, right? And now we've become divided. Our country, which people forget, our country is the United States, not the divided states. And we have a saying that goes, "United we stand." United we stand. But we've become divided. How did that happen? Well, this is the result of politics in general, but people started focusing too much on politics and not enough on loving each other. People started focusing on their differences as opposed to the things they have in common. People started focusing on divisive issues that they disagreed with. We don't all have to agree on the same things in order for things to be, or in order for our country to be united, in order for us to be one with each other. Actually, what we need to do is we need to start practicing, we need to go back to how we used to be, practicing being a community. This is particularly for people in bigger cities, this is sort of a foreign concept. But there used to be this thing called community where people would get together and they would take care of one another and they would care for one another and they would befriend each other and they would, benefit off of this. Because it's good to be needed. It's good to be cared about. This is part of what it means to be human, not just by your family, but by other people. We used to have that in America and it stopped at some point, probably because we started focusing more on our differences and we stopped practicing the things that make people being a community. We stopped having cookouts, we stopped having get-togethers, we stopped having, getting together and enjoying music in a wholesome way, not just a hookup or whatever that goes on at the clubs today and the nasty, jacked up music that they play. We used to have wholesome music. So there's a lot of insidious things, a lot of insidious elements that come in to make us not love each other anymore. You gotta think that this is planned. Somebody behind it, and the person behind them is the devil, right? So we need to, I think the truth, someone said the truth is the remedy and the rescue. The truth is the remedy and the rescue. What is the truth? The truth is that we got to go back. We got to figure out where we went wrong, and we got to fix it. Where do we go wrong in the 1960s? Second wave feminism. Where do we go wrong in the 1990s? Third wave feminism. Where have we gone wrong since? Look how focused on divisive factors we are. Look how occupied we are with social media and our phones. We can fix these things. We just have to go outside. We have to drop our differences. Now, some things some things are just blatantly, obviously immoral and wrong, such as killing babies. That's wrong. I think there are some things that are dividing lines, where if you support this thing, people probably shouldn't mess with you. Now, again, right, people will say, oh, you're just being like, now you're being a hypocrite because you just got done saying that this is how the left is, etc. The problem, the difference there is that the left calls things that are bad good, right? You have to have a basis of righteousness. Killing a human being is not righteous. Any way you slice it. I don't care if it's an embryo. I don't care if it's a fetus. It's a human being. Once it's formed, there's a soul there. Doesn't matter. Again, we can argue over these things. It's not the point. Objectively speaking, killing a human being is wrong, right? Killing a human being is wrong. You gotta draw the line somewhere. Killing a human being is wrong. Promiscuity is wrong. It's immoral. Gotta draw the line somewhere. These things go hand in hand. You have to have a moral compass to begin with. You have to be able to discern right from wrong. Okay, and so whatever group of people are doing the wrong things, that's where you got to say, I can't be a part of that. It's not that we're trying to fight with them or argue with them or debate with them or try to win them over to our side. You just disassociate from those people. They're sick. They're evil. What does the Bible say? It says, take no part in the works of evil. Walk not in the way of evildoers. Something like that, right? Meaning, don't hold company with these people. Don't even talk to them. It's sick, right? And it's fruitless to even try to talk to them. It's fruitless to even try to talk to them, because it's just circular arguments. You can't win because there's people. Here's what I believe. I believe if you get to that point where you're supporting these evil things, you're already lost. You're lost in the sauce already. And people come along, they can't argue with you. You can't argue with these people because I don't believe they're even mentally there enough to grasp what you're saying. It's like somebody who's never seen a color and you're trying to describe a color to them. Unless you show it to them, unless they see it, they'll never get it, because you can't describe a color to somebody. It's the same way with right versus wrong, righteousness versus evil. You can't explain to somebody how to have a conscience. They either have it or they don't. And when you try to explain to them, they don't get it because they don't have that thing. Believe me, I've been in many arguments with atheists. I've been in many arguments with feminists. I've been in many arguments with lefties who support the things that I've talked about. There's always a void there. They don't get it because they don't have that thing. They don't have a conscience. They don't know the difference between right and wrong. They don't have that in them. So you can't argue with them. You can't. It goes nowhere because they don't see it. So you just disassociate. Okay, so once we do that, then we realize that these people are evil. And it's not that we're trying to harm them in any way. We're just quarantining ourselves away from them. I don't want to be a part of you. There's nothing that I can do with you. I can't help you. You can't help me. I can't explain anything to you because you're too far gone. You'll just argue and attack me and say mean things or whatever, just try to waste my time, whatever. You just can't. You just disassociate. And then we can call a spade, and we can backtrack and say, hey, here's where we got it wrong. This is where we went wrong. For some reason, our grandparents, the boomers, in the 1960s and the 1970s, accepted this crap second wave feminism. How can we fix that? How can we go back and say, wait a minute, how can we save our women from feminism is a good question as well. We don't talk enough about this. If we talked more about this in a group way, not just like, oh, we're red pill guys and we're separating, blah, blah, blah. No. If we just talked about it in a community way and brought these things up. The problem is that for whatever reason, so many women are just brainwashed. They're brainwashed, it's like, okay, yes, you can have autonomy because we're all for first wave feminism. You can have your freedom to go sleep around. Sure, because we're not trying to control you. But what you can't have is getting out of the consequences. You can't have freedom of outcome. You can't have freedom from consequences of your behavior. You can't have freedom from the responsibilities that comes with autonomy, that comes with freedom. Now, I'm not saying that to imply that men ever controlled women. It might sound like that, because this is what feminism taught, is that, oh, women were controlled. They were under the thumb of the patriarchy. I don't really buy into that. I don't think that was ever really as real as they make it out to be. Now, sure, there might have been a lot of men who looked down on women as the weaker sex, and kind of discounted their intellect and discounted them. That might have been somewhat part of a past culture, but that doesn't necessarily mean there was such a thing as a patriarchy insofar as it's defined by feminism. If we break down the word patriarchy, what is it really actually? It just means the fathers. That's all that word means, is the fathers, right? So what are they really saying? They're saying they hate men, they hate fathers, they hate providers, they hate, because this is what a father has historically been, a provider. So what did men do? So essentially, what are they hating? They're hating the fact that men built society. They're hating, it's just man hate when you boil it down. They're hating the fact that men built society. They're hating the fact that men took care of them. They're hating the fact that men provided for the family. It's usurpation, really, and it's Satan vicariously through them, trying to usurp the God-given headship of man in the family. Right? What did Satan do with God? He tried to usurp God's throne, and God kicked him out of heaven. Satan is a usurper. He's trying to do the same thing through women. Because humans are less powerful than Satan is. So right now, Satan is doing a number on our culture, on our community, on our society, through this tool of feminism. Look at it from that angle. Let's talk about it from that angle. The angle that it's a wedge between marriage. It's a wedge between loving relationships. It's a wedge between healthy morality, between having a conscience and not having a conscience. Because that's what it comes down to, because this is the insidiousness of modern feminism. It's empowering to go sleep around, right? Oh, we just want equality. And then what's hidden in there? Oh, we can go do things men can do, right? And what do they assume? Oh, all men just sleep around, so therefore I can sleep around. I've heard many a women say this. Many a women said, oh, men sleep around, why can't I? This is the lies. That's a lie. It's not true. First of all, there are many men who do have morals and don't want to sleep around, first of all. Second of all, Men don't have the access to sex that women do, so it's not a one-to-one comparison. It's not an equal thing. This is the insidiousness behind that word equality. Well, we're equal, and then they rationalize that everything is equal between men and women. This is the brainwashing. I've heard many women say that. Well, if I'm a slut, then guys are sluts too, because guys sleep around. No, not all guys. And hopefully not all women. And then we can look at the women who are moral and say, hey, those are role models. A woman who is pursuing her dreams in a moral way, not just getting on OnlyFans or looking to get money out of men or use a man in a relationship or marry a man who's got money, which is it's all a type of grift. It's all a scam. You're using sexuality to get something. That's empowering. That's what the founding feminist mothers were going for, using sex to get what you wanted? Or were they like, no, we want to earn our right to be equal, to be considered equal, by being upstanding citizens, by having good careers, by having good morals. And that's not what's been permeating our culture. That was not pushed. That was not continued. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about what it actually is and actually has become. That way, maybe we can get somewhere with fixing it, right? Or it could just become an argument. It could just become a divisive thing and make things more incendiary, right? Make things more divisive, more crazy out there. I don't know, but I think for guys, we just need to you got to find a quality woman. You can't go for these, this feminist crap. And maybe you got to disassociate, but you would like to be able to change the next generation through solid talking points, solid change. And I think there are a lot of women out there who understand what I'm saying. And I think there are a lot of women out there who really are anti-feminist. And when I say a lot, I mean a small percentage. But taken as a whole, if we're talking millions, right? There's 350 million people. Last I checked, 350 million people in the United States. What percentage of those are anti-feminist? What percentage of the women? And I think it's half and half. So what's that? 125 million women? If I got my math right. How many of those women are actually anti-feminist? 5%? More? 5 to 10%? I would say 10% maybe is too much. They're out there. I've met them. It's just that it's easy to fall back on your habits. It's easy, and then you got female nature, and that's a whole nother can of worms, right? But we can still talk about these things. So I just want to bring that up from that angle, and I hope that I hope that we can start more dialogue on that. Let's talk about the negatives that feminism brought in, right? Let's call a spade a spade. Let's really talk about the important things that matter. Unfortunately, for some reason, we have, maybe it's an American thing, but we have a culture where we don't like to talk about or remember our negative things. And I'm more of the mind that we need to open things up and talk about them so that we can really heal and really stop making the same mistakes and we can actually move on. But anyway, I'll leave it at that, guys. Thank you for listening. Jay Lee, Northwest Podcast. Peace.